couldn't say much.
Grandpa, tell us about the ice.
The ice?
Harvesting ice.
Oh, well, during the winter months, the farmers would like their ice, you know, so they had most of them had a little shed with sawdust, you know. They'd cut the ice out and put the ice in the shed and cover it with sawdust.
Where did they get the ice?
Oh, quite often on any of the creeks that would run with water. Through Du Bois, I remember the ice on the creek in Du Bois, what they called Middle Creek? No, that's where we lived.
Medicine Creek?
Yeah, I don't remember.
The one north, the creek north.
No, it ran through Du Bois.
Yeah.
I don't remember what they called it. But we,
How'd you get the ice
fellows
out?
would cut the ice during the winter.
Right on the river.
Right on the creek, yeah.
Was it heavy?
Well, sometimes it would freeze that deep, you know, or a little lot more. They'd use a saw to cut it like you do wood into pieces.
And then they lay it down with sawdust?
Yeah, if they had a shed, and they would lay it, and then they would cover it with sawdust all around. Some sawdust on the bottom, and then they'd stack it, and then they'd sprinkle. Oh, they should have, a foot or two of sawdust sprinkled around to form insulation, you know, and it would keep the ice cold.
How long would it last?
Well, I remember working for this fellow that had dyes. I worked for him during the summer until school started in September, and they'd start using their ice about July the 4th. You know, then they could make ice cream and use it for drinking.
So 6, 7 months.
Yeah, 6, 7 months.
Just in a shed with sawdust. Wow.
Inside. So that's harvesting the ice, keeping it to the hot days of summer.
We've come a long way since then, huh?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Have you ever told the story about the lodgepole pine and losing your $10 or $15?
Oh, yeah. My dad had a contract up in Montana. It was, Du Bois was about 20 miles south of the border of Montana and Idaho. When it comes down like a shoe, it comes down like that. We lived about, it was about 15 miles from Du Bois to the border of Montana. And Dad got a contract in Montana to put up hay. And we were up there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I helped him, and I earned a little money. And then we moved back to our home in Du Bois. And Ken and I, Dad wanted Ken and I to go up, not very far north of Du Bois, to some timber, cut some wood, he wanted some nice timber for a fence.
They're called lodgepole pine.
Lodgepole, yeah. So he sent us up there with a wagon, empty wagon, and you know, when you haul the logs on a wagon, you take the box off and just use the wheel runs so that you can, and your logs will form the bed on the wagon. And you'll have a load of logs. You wouldn't have to worry about a wooden bed on the wagon. We went up to that area and cut logs, and I had earned about $10, and after I earned the money on a job that I helped Dad on. I don't remember what it was, but I carried it in my watch pocket, and we went up to cut timber, and we were up there, a day and a half, and we had a pretty good sized load of logs. They were lodgepoles, small one, and maybe a little larger like that, long. I think we cut them about 10 or 12 feet long. And after we got our load on the wagon, we headed for home. And I said, I wonder if I still got my money. And I looked and I didn't have nothing in my wife's pocket. Well, we couldn't stop and look then because we were down the road quite a way. So we went home, we delivered our logs to the experiment station. And it was about 3 or 4 days before I get time to go back to that area. And in order to do that, I had to hitchhike out to my Uncle John's place because I needed a horse to ride. I borrowed a horse from him and went over, it was about 5 more miles to the place that we cut the logs, the poles, the lodge
They had a
poles.
camp.
And I didn't know where to look. And actually, I knelt down and prayed. Well, I got up and I knew where the approximate area where the wagon was parked. And I looked around it and, oh, there it was on the ground. All that time, and it was about 3 days from the time I lost it till the time that I went back after it. And it was really an answer to my prayer.